Good evening, Sashi. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the rest of the panel. Interesting session, the previous one. Uh, you've been in the industry for a long, long time. That is, yeah, absolutely. Can you take the mic, please? Uh, the premise is IP-driven online video eating into television share? That's the question we are raising here. What is your perspective on that from your client perspective and from the industry perspective?
No, so if you say that digital video or online videos eating into television, undoubtedly that's the future. But interesting, I'm sitting there and listening, and if I make some controversial statements, and I'm known for saying what I believe in, whether everyone agrees with that or not. The crux of the matter is today, the online play, other than Google and Facebook, is all the OTT platforms, at least most of them are linear TV fellows, And the second data point which I want to put, some of you may agree, is that the CPMs for online are far, far lower than the CPMs for linear. There's no comparison. Now, can you imagine the Hotstars and the Woods of the world wanting to grow online by ensuring their CPMs reduce on what they're getting on television? Somewhere in their mind they have to find the balance. So I think it's going to be a struggle to that extent. They will control. We're seeing it. We've been deliberating on launching a measurement system on television with BARC, which is television plus video, online video, and it's in the pipeline. We've been talking about it. And if I may be candid, while technology is a very easy thing, we have gone the journey. But one of the concerns is we shouldn't end up jeopardizing one ecosystem for the other, so which is because of this differential in CPMs. That's the other point. And if I may say, the online guys have done disservice to themselves, I think, which you alluded to, by the amount of data you put out is unnecessary, I'm not saying that it's ridiculous. So it feeds in our programmatic engines and his programmatic engines, all kinds of filth happens. So I think somewhere at some point in time, I'm sorry for giving a long-winded answer to your simple question. Yes, online is growing and obviously therefore will take something away. But India is a growing market. The surface has not been scratched. So I'm not sure whether it will be a zero-sum game. It will be, and I personally feel it will take a lot of time for the CPMs of online to catch up with television. So I think...
So what's the split, Malli, in terms of... I believe it's 13-14% going towards digital, or is it higher?
No, it's lesser than that.
Lesser. Overall, I'm saying, compared...
Yeah, it's over. It's probably in the high single digits stroke 10% odd, very optimistically. So, yeah.
So, in terms of online video, but digital...
No, I'm talking about digital as a whole. I'm not talking about online video.
Okay.
So, digital as a whole would be about 9 to 10%. And online video, out of that 10% would probably be 2.5% of that. So, I'm adding up YouTube and everything else in it. So it's still a very, very nascent field. In terms of monies going in. As like, Shashi said, yeah, it'll probably grow into the future. But I think if sitting from where we are today, I think it still has to prove itself on CPMs, in my opinion. Because, the fact of the matter is that, if most of the players are coming in from the television space, let's go back to even YouTube, right? If you look at YouTube, the YouTube CPMs actually might look cheaper than television when you do very targeted buys and things like that. And digital, when you say that, okay, I'll want that man wearing a red shirt with a, Lamy pen stuck to the left side. But FMCG, especially if digital has to grow, it has to grow from FMCG. And the FMCG game is about reach. And when you remove all these targeting parameters and just look at it on a plain cost per thousand without any targeting, the mass gun of television, and today marketers are looking at it with those lenses. It's still pretty expensive compared to television. So from a pure economics point of view, it doesn't make sense. And the third point, obviously, I think what is also stopping it from growing is, the currency bit. I think, advertisers do not want, and media planners do not want too many currencies. We want, a simplified set of lenses to look at things, which we still really don't have today. Maybe when BARC gets into it in the future and so on, we'll have that. Today, while I think online players have a lot of data, the problem we have is that it's a very fundamental one, which is that if I'm doing my homework, I can't do the checking also. So the problem is that there is no serious third-party measurement, and only when there is serious, unbiased third-party measurement, however approximate it may be, because I don't think people are looking for third decimal precision. People are looking for a certain sense of unbiasedness. I think that's what will also kind of maybe fuel it into the future.
Yeah, but you're not using things like App Annie and seeing the consumption that's happening using...
You will, but see, when you're saying it has to grow from television, you have to look at it
You
from
heard
a
of App
common
Annie,
currency.
right? You heard of App Annie?
I've
That's
not
a-
heard of
that's a
that, to be
monitoring.
honest, but the point
I
to me
think
is,
App Annie is a slightly different thing. App Annie just gives you industry data. It just doesn't give you specific data
Consumer
of
data.
performance on consumer. App Annie tells you which app got downloaded, how many times, and how many consumers are coming to it, which doesn't help any media
it doesn't
planner.
help the media planner.
The media planner wants to know if I run an ad at this spot for so and so number of times, who watched it and how many people clicked through and came to it. So that is, he's giving a feedback to his to his advertiser as to how the ad has performed, which doesn't come from App Annie or anything. It only comes from if they're dropping a cookie into a publisher's
I get that.
destination or serving ads from their programmatic platform or whatever it is.
Yeah, but so let's look at the web. We have third-party Comscore. We've got third-party things like SimilarWeb and Alexa, which give you indicators, which also give you
But it is
Those
not
demographics
enough.
indicators
Like, you
don't
know-
help advertisers.
at all.
No, it is not. See, if you look at even Comscore, right, today the fact of the matter is that most Comscore measurement is based on the desktop. So that's the starting point, when I'm looking at OTT.
anyway is gone.
That anyway goes. So to me, it's not really there. I mean, online measurement in terms of unbiasedness, and I'm kind of stressing that, third-party unbiasedness on a secular, neutral basis, it's not really there.
So Shashi, that's more work for you at Park.
So, I absolutely. First, I must point out, he did point out to targeting the red shirt. I noticed I'm the only red shirt in the room here, so it's a good one. So, coming back, I think, like I said, alluded, and I want to use this audience because, I know it's an online specific audience, and but finally the ecosystem is one. And we are ready. I mean, Park is, and I heard someone mention very rightly so, panel data, what we are planning on television is on digital video will be a hybrid of television and large big data assimilation for ascription of various segments like demographics and so on. The challenge is that we are ready with the technology. It's nothing because, our whole television measurement has been designed with watermarking, which is used to measure, is platform neutral. It can be anywhere, it can get radio, it can go on to online, wherever it is. And we have got the backend in place, but we're taking very baby steps. There are two reasons. Nowhere else in the world where people are very fond of talking, it's not very easy. So that's one issue. So that's one fact, getting it together. Second is the common metrics, and one of the big things you would have heard in the last few months of viewability, that what is the right comparison? And, you would have seen 10 days back, Facebook putting out this story that, we've been running ads, we're giving you data, which is, so you know that. So I think some of the setting those standards from a point of view. And the larger point, if I may say so on behalf of one of the key constituents of BARC, which is the broadcasters, that most of the broadcast guys themselves are on OTT platforms. And this whole issue of working out, is it good, is it bad for us? So from a OTT point of view, Gaurav Gandhi says every TechCom mine he attends, I didn't see him here today, but he attends every TechCom mine religiously saying, and Ajit, both of them, great, it's a great thing, it's a great thing. I'm not sure their bosses are still got it in there, wrapped around their head. Is it a good thing to do? I mean, I'm sorry, I've said it as it comes. I'm known for that. So, so I'm not sure whether they worked it on their mind. And if I was the shoes, I will not be sure.
Yeah, but you have Varun Narang, who's the product head, saying he wants 1 billion watch minutes a day. That's his target at Hotstar.
Yes, absolutely. But the point is, when you start doing this,
That's what he said in China. 1 billion watch minutes a day. That
yes,
means-
so watch minutes is fine. So that's what he wants. So does Puneet. But the point is that because of this disparate CPMs, some way and similar content, if not same content, is being pumped in.
But isn't there a time lag? What Star does is they put their content before, on Hotstar, before they put it on
But
television.
The larger point is that there's such a large gap in CPMs, which is something, you may not want a rapid migration, because I don't see CPMs, his teams, or the giant monster in Westin Hotel, suddenly paying higher CPMs just because you're seeing the content on this thing. The mindset is not going to change. So I think somewhere that fundamentally issue has to be resolved. I don't know what.
Sorry, so just to add, I think I completely agree with what he's saying. I think some of the stuff that we will see, and we've seen that in every digital rollout, whether it is e-commerce or whether it is travel, the ad dollars always lag consumers. It has happened for every single rollout of a segment. So in digital video, when we are seeing it, we will see ad dollars lag advertising or ad dollars lag, the consumer offtake. Because once the consumers start taking it, then the advertiser realizes there's value for me. The challenge in digital is because it's so fragmented, measurement becomes a nightmare. And it's impossible to actually put together a measurement system. Even if today Park decides or somebody else decides, it can only measure an X number of platforms. They really can't say, you know, 1 million sites in India, or maybe tomorrow if there are 50,000 sites which are going to have video on it, we are going to be able to measure each one of them and be able to give what is the customer feedback or customer rating for all of that. So I think some of these challenges are specific to the industry. A lot of work has happened worldwide on this.
Yeah, Nielsen took over Rentrack.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't deliver. What happens even internationally is you're delivering on actual. Where is the money going to? A lot of money goes to Google, a lot of money goes to Facebook. A lot of them are delivering on actuals and on the data that they're sitting on. So a lot of us will have to follow those models and use that currency for the Indian audience also. So I think that it takes some time for these things to proliferate.
So
We
are you saying measurement by a third party will not really help the situation?
I think
or-
it will make it probably brings in one common currency, but will the media buyer buy it with that currency is my concern.
No, I have a different take. I think the fact that when the currency comes in fact, if you're pulling it off with our structure and our model is completely what's happening in US, and if you pull it off by middle of next year or whenever the plan is to 2017 sometime, I think the issue is going to be not about acceptance of currency from a summit. And in fact, if you're successful, you probably have Google and Facebook also inside as a part of the currency, because you have to tag the currency so for them to agree to this. So you'll obviously
You'll go
tag.
crazy dealing with Facebook and YouTube because the kind of traffic they're getting,
Leave
you'll have to
that
sample
us.
it.
Leave that to us. So I think there are ways of doing it. So the issue is going that path is not a difficult thing. I mean, at least we seem to, it's not about technology as much as aligning mindsets and saying, why should our data, because these companies are so used to putting out data of themselves. But for the time being, it's a critical assumption to make, but make the assumption that they'll come on board, at least all the discussions we had so far. I think, so my point is slightly different. The currency should be there, and India is one of the first markets in the world other than the US which have a common currency going. Getting the metrics sorted out will be there. I'm not sure how will we respond to this big gap in CPMs which exists.
So
when he's-
what is the gap? I mean, is it 1:1,000?
Well, it depends. So it
What's
depends
the
on what you're
highest
buying.
buy you're doing
let-
on
Let
cricket?
me, let me try and answer this. I think the challenge on digital versus television is digital has one price. Whether the video runs on Sony Live, or the ad runs on Sony Live, or it runs on Hotstar or on Voot, the fundamental price range is not significant, not very different. You look at TV channels, TV channel A and TV channel B and TV channel C will have significantly different CPRPs or or the ad rates for a certain spot. So a lot of that is different. A TV channel which has lesser ratings would have significantly different rating pricing compared to a Star or a Sony or a Z.
Thing is that I think, because in digital, what has happened is that you're buying audiences.
Absolutely.
You're not buying platforms, you're not buying aggregates, you're not buying NCCSA or ACCA or whatever.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
currently, most audiences seem to be generic. This is a digital audience. So therefore, I'm paying X for it and I'm not ready to pay.
Yeah, but
a
you
premium
can
for it.
data mine further. They don't accept your data.
No, which is the point? His point is right, that today, because it's an early stage market, this market has to be driven by FMCG. FMCG is looking for reach. They're saying if your platform doesn't deliver 10, 15 million people, don't come to me because your rate is, then I'm going to aggregate 20 different platforms together and then give out a thing to a network.
I understand.
Therefore, then the ad comes from a network and not to an individual platform. When it goes to a network, then where the ad gets delivered, the rate is the same. So
I
therefore,
understand,
there
but
is
there's
a
a problem.
commoditization in rates.
Yeah, because
Therefore,
that's terrible.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
that's
Which is
terrible
why it
because-
doesn't move up.
Yeah, so
That's to
why-
answer-
why go with
I'm answering-
FMCG? One second.
I'm
Why-
answering Shashi sir's.
Why go with FMCG, Shashi? Why not go with niche brands? Why not go with automobiles? I mean, you all haven't been pushing the envelope on that?
They all learn very quickly.
Guys, can I do a reality check? One of India's largest e-commerce companies is a client of mine. Won't mention them, but
Sorry.
one of India's largest e-commerce companies is a client of mine. Yeah, won't mention the name, but it's obvious. You don't need too much to figure out. 60-70% of the spends is on offline, 20-30% on digital. We do everything for them. When it comes to offline, every principle of offline which we have learned is applied, including the CPMs or whatever are there. When it comes to online, it is exactly the same principles. So an online player, which is primary function is online, comes from the same. It's the way the ecosystem is.
Absolutely. But they're willing to pay the same amount of, for creating a commercial for digital, they're paying the same value as they're paying for television in terms of the content creation process. I know because, filmmakers are getting 1 crore to produce a commercial for digital. Why can't they pay pay higher amounts like they pay for television? The thinking is what I'm saying.
Is the thinking, is the supply
get
and
what I'm
demand,
saying?
there are various reasons.
Yeah,
there
if
is
I
a
go to a
question.
3-star restaurant and get it cheaper, or a 3-star hotel and
So,
get it
so
cheaper, why should I?
1 crore for a commercial for digital, the content marketing that's happening today, they're creating those feel-good, pieces of content which they're viralizing across all the social media
That
platforms.
is actually, that may be one-off, it doesn't cost
It
that
doesn't
much.
happen one-off, it's happening
but I think-
consistently.
But I think the point is more about why do I not pay, I think, I think there's a larger point here, right? So if I'm a marketer, I look at digital for performance and for branding. Now the whole OTT space is actually in the branding, more or less in the branding side rather than on the performance side, because performance is paid search, blah, blah, blah. Now, today we don't have enough case studies, okay? The truth of the matter is that we don't have enough success stories of how has it actually built. I'm not talking about niche brands. There will always be smaller niche brands which you could have built through digital, but can I build, let's say, Head and Shoulders? Can I build, Dabur Chyawanprash on digital?
But
I
if
mean,
you look at permanent
one second,
roommates,
one second.
yeah.
So my point is that is where, again, I'm kind of coming back because, yes, there are digital players who are coming and trying hard. They are doing their own in-house case studies. They get a Millward Brown. They'll get some other research agency. They tell us, but again, you will always, it's got a bias. So to me, measurement has to be there to an extent because, even if it is imprecise, I don't know the answer to what he said about how, in a fragmented market, how accurate it will be. But my point is that some form of reasonably accurate measurement is better than, unbiased measurement is better than no measurement at all.
How long have you been operational, Zulfi?
Over 2 years now.
And brands have come on board or no?
Yeah,
And
we are a SWOT model, but we work with brands. And I mean, the stage that we are in, it was a conscious decision to move away from AWOD, because we knew that AWOD will never help us finance our ambition, what we have. So we took the other route. But what is encouraging, I think brands look at digital from an innovation point of view. They're experimenting, everyone's enthusiastic. These are still early days. And the size of digital footprint, in the real sense, when you compare it with linear TV, it's way off. I mean, look at TV, the penetration that it gives you.
But you have 1.1 million guys who are willing to pay you $49.
Yeah,
These are
Yeah.
guys who are willing to spend that
Yeah,
money.
actually what works for me is that, half of it comes from India, half of it comes from international. And
Okay, so 560,000 people who
Yeah,
are
I
willing
mean,
to pay. So that's an audience.
give or take, but what actually, I was talking to Sashi before the session. I said the only thing that Indians are used to paying money for is a movie ticket.
Cricket match?
Yeah, Listen, you typically ask for a pass, huh? Let me tell you that.
What a
Free pass.
Boss, you look at the BCCI collection it's an annual
And if
report.
you're
They've
in
collected
Delhi,
a
out
lot.
of 40,000 capacity, 20,000 goes as passes.
150 crore is a collection for BCCI. Go and look at the BCCI
No, I'm
report.
sure. Listen, I'm
They
saying.
click.
That's not
So it's a habit. It's a habit thing. For what works for me is probably because the Indian diaspora out of the country, the one thing they don't want to ever miss out, however crappy a movie is, they want to watch a movie, they'll come and spit venom on that, but they'll again next movie
I
that's out.
basically wanted to come up and, rescue yourself, the OTT sector, and talk about case studies. Instead
Yeah.
you're saying, no. Forget it.
His segment is not in the
Yeah, but in
advertising
terms of
space.
over the
Yeah, so
past
we
few
work with brands. We work on innovations, different partnerships. And I can tell you that, when we are satisfied with the pricing, we agree to a pricing. Otherwise, we're not in a mad rush.
Yeah,
I think brands understand that when they want to do some innovation, they want to try something out, they're more willing now. I'm an ad sales guy. I mean, I've been, going to their offices all my life. But if 15 years, if I look at my journey, I see brand managers are more experimentative now. Not only that, the mandate that they're giving to the agencies, the people who are custodians of the brand, everyone's thinking. Early on, it was one brand manager or an agency trying to push it to the brand, ki yaar, ye kar lo innovation, it's good for your brand. But today, the entire ecosystem is thinking, what do we do different? And I think that's where at least players like me
It's
come into
a
play.
start. So, in this digital video space, I've been 2 years, but in the digital space, I've been in the
Yeah.
digital publishing for 15 years. And I've seen going for sessions to explain people what internet was and what the website was and how a banner clicks through. And, we've grown up from there to now where we are saying every brand manager you go to has a brief saying you have to do something on digital, you have to do something. There's an X percentage of spend that has to go to digital. There is a certain amount that they are allocating. They're experimenting at their end saying, yes, I will try a few things. Brands talk to us. We are able to do stuff for them on digital. So I think we're in that evolution phase. We are saying, yes, people will learn. There'll be case studies that will get built out. There are measurement platforms which will get built out. Monetization will happen. Segmentation of customers will happen. More platforms will come into the space. There will be a certain movement in that direction. 2 years back, this looked like a minefield. Today, it looks far more organized.
I think going to Malli's point, is that we need some case studies, some winning stories, and that's the time the trend will come. And even now that brands and clients are thinking about this thing, a lot of credit must go to the pioneers such as Google and all. They actually went on educating people. They would go to offices, talk to them, do workshops, stuff like that. So that actually set the stage for people to be open about it. And I think next level is couple of good stories coming out that this is what has been achieved. I think.
Yeah, because permanent roommates is a good case study. Is it not good enough for you all in terms of the permanent roommates, what Viral Fever has done? It's got built audiences. It got you more audiences than a show would get you on television.
So when I actually refer to case, actually I'm referring to like hair oil, soap, shampoo first. Okay. Because
Yeah,
I
we have
think
to
that's a
start
big money. No,
shifting
because
our
we are talking
mindset.
about monies, right?
He's right.
The big
That's
money,
where the money
the
is.
big money is there.
That's the money.
You
No,
know,
but I think Ola
I
Cabs
have to
put
get
in
some success there.
Ola Cabs put in some. I think it was about 1 crore behind this permanent roommates. That's decent money for you.
No. Understand. What is the scale we are talking of? We're talking of a 20,000 crore ecosystem which is out there, which is doing advertising today on an annual basis. So we need to figure out how do we make a dent in that ecosystem, not from a digital perspective, but from a digital video perspective, which is
Absolutely.
relevant in this
Yeah, but
conversation.
permanent roommates is digital video. He can
Correct.
put it on. He can
But-
put it on Sony.
But the point here is that that was one use case. Is that a scalable use case? Can you replicate it? He is looking for something which will say, as a digital category, digital video category, it helped build a brand. That case study takes time to build. It takes a larger participation from more people. It's not about one content piece working for a certain brand.
But you see, permanent roommate, what has it done for that company? Brands are open to now giving them money for the next shows.
Yeah.
Yes, Yashraj, whenever they do show, whether the Ali Fazal
We've
thing
done
or
Yeah,
the
even the eunuch.
Bang Baja Barat,
brand-
whatever you
yeah.
call it, yeah. I mean, brands are putting money. People are willing. It's not that brands don't want to give money.
So
They're
they're
asking for
open to
accountability, yeah. That's
I
it.
understand. They're open to experiment on the content piece, but not onto the display piece.
Yeah, look, if you
Yeah.
break a plan into you can look at it in various metaphors. I mean, a scientific way of looking at it is there is an efficient reach, which is the basic, cost per reach. You'll be brutal about the reach. Then you'll have a relevant reach, which is the content. And then I would say something like a reaction reach, which is getting people to purchase. Go and click the ad or do something.
Sure.
Another way I look at it is like the human diet, right? There is a carbohydrates, proteins, and steroids. Right now, people are putting money on proteins. They're putting some on steroids with innovations. But your growth, your explosive growth will come when people take it as business as usual. That, this is, like how
So when do you
television
see
gets.
that happening? I mean, when do you see that happening? Because you're an AWOD model primarily, right? You've gone into SWOD. Hotstar is depending on AWOD and some amount of premium.
So let me try and put this in numbers. I think that might help everybody. Today, the ecosystem on digital video is probably 60, 70 million people who are regularly using digital video. Okay, the
What's
market,
your-
the
what's
market
your
number
count?
is market number is about 100 million. But I think there are 60, 70 million who are serious video users. We reach out about 10 million if that's the number you're looking
Yeah,
for.
thank you.
So 60, 70 million is too small. To reach anything relevant for an ad switch to happen significantly or significant contribution, that number has to reach 200, 250 million. To reach that kind of a number, we need to have better bandwidth. We need to make sure payment systems are sorted out. We need to make sure the device ecosystem is far lesser fragmented than it is today. we're able to solve those infrastructure ecosystem problems, all this will fall into place. My guess is we'll touch 200, 250 million in 2.5 years, 3 years from now. We are adding 50 to 70 million serious devices and broadband every year. So if you're adding 50, 70, in 3 years from now, you'll have another 150, which means you'll reach 200 million. There is a tipping point somewhere. We've seen that tipping point happen in China at about 200, 250. I think it'll happen here even faster because we consume far more content and we are far more content hungry and there is far more content here. So the ecosystem here might kick in faster. My guess is we're 2 years, 1.5 years away from a serious shift, and with some of these initiatives falling into place, I think there will be significant money flowing.
So the 200 million, you'll be able to absolutely track that.
See, the good news is, even today, as Malli alluded, for a lot of us, a lot of our clients, we are doing one video plans, which is TV plus digital video. We present whatever data, whatever metrics we have. There are various ways of doing it, but we are doing it. So, in a way, the ecosystem is being built to look at data in a particular way. Now, as he says, that's a good question, when the tipping point will come. This is all about that, so I conjecture that. So I think a lot of large players in the in our ecosystem, the large FMCGs, they are the ones, not only do they spend more money, they are the ones also who understand metrics better. And so they already are the levers, the Proctors, the Reckitt's of the world, already looking at it. So I don't think it's an alien conversation if you go in there.
I'm talking from the measurement side. Will it be sampling if you look at it going forward, or will it be, how are you going to track this?
So you want to know some specifics on how BARC is looking at
Yeah.
it? Okay, so it'll be twofold. So I think the first will be our existing panel, and we may add some panel because the existing panel is very mass. Even though NCCSA, we say it's a very open definition. So we need to top up the panel to get the top end of the people who watch. A lot of people who are not watching television, who are watching online. So that'll be caught. But I think the point he made in the earlier panel is very valid, that any sample on digital which is so fragmented, the error levels become very high. So what we are working on is creating large data sources in India, they exist, of attributing from that.
Okay.
So for example, you may tie up with 2-3 backend sources, and finally we'll create a pool of their data which we'll pick up, or say 30 OTT fellows. So I'm not revealing, but there's something in mind where you'll have a large data which will use to attribute demographics and stuff like that, and to course correct the data. And finally will be a stage of all the stakeholders there we will access their data and say, now we'll course correct what the question you asked on demographics and stuff like that, all that will be done.
So is that sounding good for you, to both of you?
I think what will happen is there are enough advertising agencies or digital advertising agencies within these big agencies who are setting up very large programmatic
And data.
pieces and data analytic pieces. A lot of them have significant amount of data because they're sending out information to publishers and picking up a lot of information. So I think there is one source which is advertiser certified, which goes into a larger pool, which can become another source of putting into this whole third-party platform to pick up data. I think there is lots one can do on the thing. It will be very different from the television implementation because it's far more fragmented, but there is a scope to do that. So my guess is next 2 years, these things will fall into place.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Ashish Basin from Dentsu AG. So he says, other agencies, it's about 30% is on digital. No, it's less on digital, 10 and 12%, right from. But he's 30% of his clients' ad budgets are going into digital. So could
Ashish
the
is a
agencies...
dear friend. Let me clarify. So first, let me qualify by saying he's a very dear friend. Did he
He's
say?
a very dear friend of mine, like you are.
Yes, so let me say, is he 30% of revenue or 30% of billing? And leave the question is answered by itself. So I don't answer. For me also, 30% of my revenue is from digital. Read
Okay,
between the lines.
so you're saying the twist
It must
is
be
the-
revenue.
Yeah, so let's not, all of us have those numbers on billing, and he's laughing, he understands what I'm alluding to. So, and which is why he's,
No, all I'm saying, I want your guys, you'll pioneer television in the, I remember Sam also saying that he used to buy a lot from Gut, but he says television is too expensive. Now, you're buying OTT very cheap. Can we find a medium? You're saying the volumes are not there. So television is too expensive, OTT is not giving you data, and you're still we'd find a middle
So
line.
life is finally, these measurement systems are all a way to convince people and yourself. End of the day, supply and demand, correct? So so whichever way. So if you decide, this is what I will say, any deal is between a buyer and a seller. You decide, this is what I want done, this is it. So why is it that on television, some stations get better CPRPs or better CPT, CPMs? Because there is a perception created. Now that will happen is for the industry to evolve. This is a very recent industry. The television in this country for 20 years. Time will tell.
And so do you all guys look at event-based, kind of content where you're actually willing to spend more, your clients are willing to spend more? Let's say like the IPL, these guys are going to be bidding sky high up, they're looking at valuations, BCCI is looking at maybe 2 billion, 4 billion, I don't know, the figures are being bandied about. Recovery has to be there at some stage. So event-based, content, will you all put higher values
It's
to it?
happening. It's happening. So already properties on Hotstar and all, or Woot, we are banding together. So they do online, offline packaging, and AIB went on, and there is a premium. I mean, now it's your psychology where you show the premium the offline, or you show the online, but it's the package which is, and Zulfi understand what I'm saying. It's so finally the
It's the yield,
ecosystem
how
is
you
getting better
manage it.
money. So it's happening is how you cut the cloth. It's which way you decide. But finally there is value for quality content.
So before, you're bullish or you're kind of, you're
Sorry?
lukewarm towards digital video? And
No,
the
no, no.
growth?
There's no question of being bullish or whatever. I believe the future is here for digital video. There's no doubt in my mind. You are calling it digital video. We have already started using the lexicon one video. OLV as it's called. So we are doing all analysis on one video. There's no issue. The challenge which I said right at the beginning is going to be ensuring that the CPMs are so dramatically different for a variety of reasons. That'll take time for them to, that's going to be the big thing. And if I may say so, if you keep Google, Facebook out, which are sizable, but in this conference, as I see, it's primarily about OTT players, at least what's what I figured out, a lot of them are common to linear TV. And it's going to be their leadership's mindset. What do I do? So this is the challenge thing. I'm a big believer of mindsets of the leaders. Nothing else matters, So the future is going to be, without taking names, the top OTT players and their leaders saying, listen, the real top guys, saying, guys, so the digital is a game to be played and we must play the game, or we should naturally ensure migration from our business to digital. And there are two different implications of that. Because of the dramatically different CPMs, which don't happen anywhere in the world, it's so dramatic as in India.
I understand. So if I look at what Uday is doing with Hotstar, he's investing oodles of money. What NP is doing with Sony Live, what Amazon is doing with Prime Video, they're investing a hell of a lot. So you're saying these guys have to start pushing the envelope as far as...
No, they have to figure out that, they're willing to, let me rephrase it with all friends. I don't want this.
They're all friends of ours.
So I think the right way to phrase this is, will they decide that, listen, even if I hurt a little bit on linear, doesn't matter, go hammer and tongs. That's a tough one. Because most multinationals have a quarter to report, including Mali and me. So, so finally it's all easy to say playing for the long haul. You also have the ecosystem to play for. So today, if television is not growing, is growing by 5% or 4%, therefore you're saying, so the compromise will be, do I pump in? Yes, it's a defensive menu as a menu of the future, but I go hammer and tongs on that, or no, I say...
So what time frame are you giving? He said 2.5 years. What time frame do you give? Are you okay with that time frame? 2.5, 3 years?
No clue. These are things as inflection points come. I have no clue. When the inflection point comes, it'll be boom.
So what is your view, Mani? Are you willing to commit, or are you going to be sit on the fence like he is? Don't mind me, Sashi.
No, I think, I mean, it's not possible to predict, honestly. I think the point is because, see, we know we have the numbers. You have 70 million online, or video consumers, and that's actually threshold size enough to tip over. I mean, if you really look at the math, because Times of India has got, 7.5 million readers and it's 6,000 crores. So I'm saying, but the point is it's not happened. There are many reasons. One of the things which I think, if I just go back to China, and that's actually a very interesting example because China actually doesn't have any measurement, anything. I mean, everything's all kept by the publishers. Everything is pretty cagey. But I think that one of the reasons why the Chinese market today is at about 25% online video is because, there are 4 strong players. I mean, in a sense, I just feel that maybe in the Indian market, we're also struggling because in the online video space, there is one large YouTube, and it's kind of, it's going with its narrative in a particular way, but maybe if the market actually becomes a lot more vibrant, which is, I think, in a sense, indicative of people wanting to use it, consume it, and so on and so forth, there will be a natural transition. I mean, I can't predict whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
But you actually said it,
Yeah.
the time is now.
Time is now. It can happen. I mean, the tipping point could be next year. It could maybe take a longer, I don't know. But it's there. The setting is there. I mean, I think the groundwork, everything is right now there in terms of numbers.
So what is your prediction, Zulfi? You're coming from ad sales. Is it now or you can't predict, or 2.5 years?
No, I'd be more with Sashi to say that if it happens in 2 years, I'll be very, very happy. Because what has happened, if you look at the digital space, he was mentioning China. What happens, it's a state policy. All parts of the machinery start growing it. For digital in India, the content creators started creating content. The TV guy said, let's create a digital platform. It's as an extension of TV. But the infrastructure did not come up with the same. Right now, you're hearing about 4G. And if you look at Airtel, it is the 4th largest telecom player in the world. And look at the data consumption. If you take 1 GB, an average Hindi movie is about a GB. 1 GB, how many? They've got about 275 odd million customers. How many customers are actually 1 GB customer, usage customers? It's a really pitiful number.
But I'm trying to understand then why is YouTube getting the number, the ad
It's
dollars?
lacking. They're not the data consumption is not that high. You know, people come
On
and snack
YouTube?
and say, snacking, they're snacking, yeah. I mean, if you want the OTT space, you
I
want
tend
some
to
serious
disagree.
data.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
tend
even
to
I
disagree.
disagree, yeah.
I'm seeing on our platform, most users end up consuming anywhere from 16 minutes to 22 minutes. It's actually surprising, and I've seen that for the last 2 years. The numbers have, on time spent, have ramped up significantly.
16 to 22 in a day.
16 to 22 per session.
Per session.
Whenever he comes in, he's consuming 16 to 22 minutes, which is significant for...
So it's not snacking. It is not.
My
16
guess is
minutes
it's not
over.
snacking. My guess is not snacking. Yes, there is a fair amount of snacking on YouTube, but when he's coming to platforms like ours, he's coming as a serious user. He's coming with the intent to consume.
Yeah, but I look at what happened in my office. We were watching the Rio, we were watching Sindhu on Hotstar. We were not watching it on television. And I know Watchman was watching it on his handset.
So I mean, on the Euro, late in the night when the Euro was on, we had 20 million users who saw Euro on
And how much
Sony
time
Live.
did they spend?
So the average time spent on that time was about 25, 30 minutes.
And that's why they complain that television ratings of Euro were down, they're not in line with.
Sorry, we can't hear you clearly.
I said that's why the complaint from the network that the TV ratings of Euro were down were not being caught.
So,
that's
overall,
reality.
we need to marry each other in some way, and there,
It's a transition
Yeah.
issue. Anything that transitions from one to the other, there will be some spots or some dark points in between where you have to say.
Can we reduce the dark spots and put the lights on it rather than dark spots? Can the industry? I told you at Vidnet that why doesn't the OTT industry get together, set up a body like you have the IBF? I know you're part of of a broadcast network, but broadcast has its own imperatives, has its own Why can't I would really love to see the OTT industry get together, set up its own standards. The broadcast industry has its own imperatives. I mean, you all will probably might stay stunted for a longer time if you don't set up that.
Currently, all the majority of the OTT players are an extended arm of the broadcasters, yeah. And there are independent players. The broadcasters will beat down everyone else, yeah. Come on, I'm ex-broadcasting. We know that, yeah, how it works. And it's still early days. There are so many people who are coming in. This is again, it's part of
IBF
evolution.
took a very long time to be set up, IBF in India.
Yeah.
Until then, there was
It's
disarray in
still
the
evolving,
market.
it's
So
still
why can't the
evolving.
OTT get together?
I think the OTT guys will get together the day Bach says with our watermarking, we are going to monitor that. That's the time when everybody will say, okay,
But
fine,
don't do it under the IBF umbrella,
Yeah.
please, because you'll drive away the
No,
OTT
but
players.
What Bach has set up is really good thing because he's saying he saw Euro on digital.
I watched Sindhu.
Yeah, you saw something. There is a
Sindhu, the fine
Yeah.
first silver medalist
yeah.
from India,
and
badminton.
the TV guys are so you can monitor the efficiency of a content. Ultimately, it's content being pushed through different pipes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've been a little emotional about this because I want to push the OTT ecosystem, and I've been pushing you there. And first time I met you, Zulfi, you'll have been wonderful. Bear with me, please. Yeah. Any questions from the audience to Sashi? I mean, you don't get a chance to get this guy very easily. Yeah, I mean, he's traveling a lot. Any question from the audience? Manav. Can you get the mic up there quickly, please?
Shashi, hi. You spoke about the one video sales approach. In your personal opinion, is that beneficial or harmful for a long-term digital opportunity? Because there are many singular digital players like Avastan itself. What about them?
No. When I was talking of one video, let me explain to you. I'm not talking of one video sales approach. I'm not saying that. In our metrics, in the absence of measurement data, which will probably take, like I said, next year, I'm sure he does and we do, we have a lot of, and he alluded to some of the metrics we have in-house. So we are running softwares currently where we go and present to our clients, for example, in my case, Reckitt Kaiser, or many clients like Coke, and we say, listen, this is the reach build-up for one video. So we don't differentiate by saying there's a separate TV plan and there's a separate digital plan. So it's an integrated plan where the mindset of those, whatever the data sources are and however, lack of robustness they may have, but we are sensitizing the market to say, listen, this is what's happening. And I know Levers is doing it, I know Procter is doing it. So this whole currency being one, the whole issue of TV reach versus digital reach and how do they impact in terms of a plan build-up is what we are evangelizing.
But you assume that once you have proper measurement for digital, that will not be a long-term approach per se, because...
No, that'll automatically, what we are doing through imperfect sources of data,
Hence.
it will obviously become better. No data can be perfect.
Sure.
Let me assure you, because as you alluded to the BARC, this whole sample survey, and even if the big data we use to attribute data, but definitely the metrics will keep improving. So definitely, I mean, I think one of the biggest thrusts which will come to the digital video, now I'm saying specifically digital video, will be when BARC launches its digital platform.
And when do we expect that?
So, I mean, I can be as candid as possible. Everything is in place. It is the mindset of the leadership of the broadcast fraternity.
Approximately. Let's hammer the mindset.
No. So the date I can give you, but
Yeah.
also the caveat I'm building in. So the date is sometime in September 2000, I mean, somewhere around second quarter, third quarter 2017, be ready to go.
Fantastic.
Yeah? Everything is there. The issue, and I repeat, the issue is the leadership in the broadcast fraternity to decide, will we gain by this, will we be hurt by this?
And
I'm
what's
saying
the
it as
sentiment?
candidly as possible.
And what's the sentiment in your opinion?
Sorry?
What do you think the sentiment is right now?
Why you get me into trouble?
Relax.
Don't
come
quote
on.
nobody, but...
This is off the record.
So it's a mixed bag. On a good day, some of them feel it's the future, this is the way it has to be done. Sometimes it hurts because the crux is the CPMs are dramatically different. And till they start colliding at some point in time, which is going to be nothing to do with measurement. Measurement made the bad cop. It's got to do with supply and demand, or demand and supply, as my friend said. So, I mean, tough to answer.
Yeah, if I look at what's happening in Investor
So let me answer your question by saying that to a great extent the horses are bolted, So the momentum is there, so it can't be pulled back. But yes, there are questions being asked that it shouldn't be at the cost of TV, So TV is expanding. Fortunately for us, TV is growing because, the other problem is, and while you keep saying, and the music to my ears as a media buyer of CPRP, one of the big, let me do a plug for the broadcast fraternity from this industry before I say something about digital, is one of the big problems of buying in this country, unlike most of the places, is we buy on cost per rating point. Cost per rating point is a static thing, it buys a single rating. While actually in most places, the evolved markets in the world, you buy CPMs. If you notice carefully, I've been always saying CPM. It's amazing, I've been saying CPMs as he's been saying CPRPs, So CPMs in a way capture the growth. There's a new baseline of television coming out, I must say, because it's in quasi-public domain. We probably will use that for our measurement, my friend on the committee with me, somewhere around Jan, Feb, March. Whenever we use it, there's 18% growth on TV homes. 18% from the last census, last baseline is 2013. So the last number. So television is still growing. The problem is not getting its fair due because of this whole CPRP metric. So obviously there's growth in television, digital will go along with that. As long as that paradigm becomes clear, I think the broadcast fraternity will embrace it because they're seeing overall growth.
Yeah, my problem is Sam will still say the price is too high for television. What is this price? The price for television is too high. And despite the growth of television.
Mr. Banwari, if
Sam's a dear friend, he's our friend.
If I may say so. No, if I may say so, from CPM's point of view, if you apply a purchasing power parity, this is the lowest markets in the world. It's funny, you guys are saying something as a media buyers, we are not saying, yes, yes, great job. It is one, as he's also saying, if you apply purchasing power parity, you must apply purchasing power parity. Because in India, the number of television stations that came together in undifferentiated manner, 800 plus television channels, how many of them GECs? Nowhere else in the world you find so many
No,
options.
the problem is there's too much inventory on
That's
television.
That's why
So
there's supply and demand. So supply and demand leads to low pricing. Simple.
Yeah.
What's happening to digital? So
Yeah.
what's happening that every television guy who's come in earlier, in any case excess supply, there's no launch coming with OTT, there will be supply and
Yeah,
demand
so
problems.
the entire ad cap thing was a good thing which broadcaster fraternity didn't embrace. That would have got pricing up. The ad cap, they didn't embrace it. That would have got pricing
I'm
up.
not, yeah, you're partly right. You're right. But I think you're right. But the larger issue is, I think going forward, India is still underpenetrated on television. Rural India will grow, the economy will open up, multiple brands will come in. If this whole GDP of 8-9% has to come, it has to come from SMEs. SMEs will apply for targeted growth. They're not going to come on one GEC and HSM or they're going to launch. So there will be pockets which will exist. That's where digital will gain, that's where radio will gain, various other things will gain. My submission is that once people start buying audiences like they do in digital, on television also in terms of numbers, and that's when the change will come.
On that note, that's a very positive note to end on. Thank you very much. Sashi, thank you, Mali. And thank you, Uday. You all have been patient with me. And thank you, Zulfi, for being a part of this. And thank you to the wonderful audience who've been here. We look forward to having IDOS next year and, looking at industry growing, looking at the new digital currency coming out by next year, looking at television embracing the fact that, and media embracing the fact that it's gone up by 18%, which he just said, which is brilliant. Yeah, so that's brilliant. I mean, that's good news for the whole ecosystem. While we're looking at subscription revenues, there's also a lot more leg room in advertising for the whole ecosystem. Thank you very much, and until next year, goodbye. Thank you.